bit different than what we have been doing before, and I want to make it really efficient and get to the point where we actually cover the entire question as if it were a real interview. And so what we're going to do is not a group brainstorming, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a structure, that I suggest to follow. And then I'm going to ask somebody that wants to jump in and start to answer to pretend it's a real interview. Okay. And I'm going to guide you, real fast. And if that person cannot answer the next thing, another person can come in and do it. But I want to go at a fast pace so that we all experience how it's going to be. Okay. So, I've been doing this for a while, so I know, what kind of structures work, and I've also borrowed structures from other people that are really good at this. So this is a suggestion, but it's a really good suggestion in terms of how to do it, okay? What you need to keep in mind with Facebook interviews, which are actually different than Google's, is that they really want to see how you think. So when you go into that interview, everything that comes out of your mouth has to have a reason for what you're saying. Okay, so, and it's about you pretending that you are the PM, and then the people that are there are your team. It could be your data team, all right? So you're telling them basically your thought process, and it's sort of pretend also that it's a conversation. Yeah, it's your team. So you have some ideas, and what do they say? And you have to have a reason for what you are saying and the analysis that you are doing. And so tell the interviewer how you're thinking. That's what they're testing, right? And they're going to be testing whether there are certain things they're going to be thinking. Okay, does this person actually know what's more impactful? What's the business goal? What's the product goal? Is what he's designing having impact to that goal? Is he tying everything to that goal? Why is he choosing this design or this feature as opposed to that one? Right? Does he think about metrics? Is that person thinking about how to measure the success at the end of the line, etc.? Okay, so think about that when you're doing this. All right, so let's start. And I'm gonna put here some structure, which is for these, product sense questions. The first thing is like, you're the PM. So whenever they ask you to design something, the first thing you need to be asking is why? Does it make sense? Why are we doing this, right? So here you need to say, okay, does it have like a business fit, right? Mission fit, so to speak, with Google. And the other one is clarify. If there are things that are not clear about the question, this is your opportunity to ask. Okay, there could be things that are ambiguous, and probably they do that on purpose. Then,
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I was just wondering, since you're so familiar with the Google and the Facebook process, as you're going through this, if you could kindly highlight like the differences between the Google and the Facebook interviews, that'd be super.
Okay, if I remember.
Okay.
Okay, so constraints. This part are the same. Actually, product sense and product design are very similar. Okay. I think that the only thing that is very different is that for Facebook questions, everything is related to Facebook. Whereas for Google, they may ask you to design something that is not related to Google. Like, for example, design an alarm clock for the blind, okay? That they're just testing your creativity and your design process if you think like a product manager. But if they ask you that question at Facebook, the first thing that you should ask is like, why would this make sense for Facebook, okay? That's the difference, okay?
Sorry, I'm not sure if it was my internet connection or yours, but you cut off there. What was the difference you said?
So the big difference is that when they ask you a design question on Facebook, it has to be something related to Facebook, right? So if they ask you to design something that's kind of weird, the first thing that you need to ask is like, wait, does it make sense for this company? Why? Why are we doing this?
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Whereas for Google, like if you look at cracking the PM interview and they have this example of design a clock for the blind, okay? They may ask you that, right? but they're asking to see if you can design something that is just, if you go through the design process correctly as a PM, right? But it's sort of like a creative type of process. They don't expect you to, you could ask
back to Google or something.
them, say, do you want me to design this product for Google, right? I would ask them, right? And they say, no, just design, pretend that you are a startup, all right? That is the difference between these two companies. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Okay. So here's, let's continue with this. So you ask why, then you clarify, then you ask the constraints. And then the next thing is, okay, so now we're gonna go with goals, right? So when you talk about goals, there are different kinds of goals. There's the, first there's the product goal, which in fact is what problem is it solving, the problem that is being solved. And then there's also, the company goal, which at the end is like get people to be always, engaged on Facebook. So you have to keep those in mind, right? And then when you're going to go into the user phase, you're going to be thinking, okay, what does the user want to? Hopefully will align with the product goal, right? Because you're solving a problem for them. Okay, so we go through the goals here. Remember to tie this to the mission of Facebook. And then, this part here, metrics. There are various kinds of metrics. In essence, there are two types of metrics. A very high level metric of, like, if the CEO comes to you and says, hey, how's your product doing? You're not going to talk about a metric that is particularly about a feature in your product, but you're going to talk about the overall metric that says, hey, am I achieving my product goal? Okay. So for example, let me give you an example for, for Instagram, it may be the daily active users. That's the high level goal, as well as maybe, how many sessions per day. That could be like the overall goal. But if you look deep into the features of Instagram, there are different kinds of things. They have stories, they have the photos, they have the feed. As a product manager, those types of metrics are related to the product itself. So there are two different levels. Right now, these metrics I'm talking about are the high-level metrics. What you would say to the CEO, right? If they come to you and say, how's it doing? When you finish your design, then you can specify metrics related to your product. And usually what you do there is to look at the funnel and start looking at, metrics that tell you about each stage of the funnel and that reflects alignment with your product goal. So anyway, so we got the metrics. Now we're going to go into the design, and now you start talking about the users. Yeah. So here you need to talk about who the users are. You probably want to segment them. Now, for Google, the segmentation can vary depending on what kind of product you're looking at, right? So for the newsfeed, for example, usually you are looking at people that are high-power users, people that are occasional users, lurkers. But if you look at Watch, the product Watch, the segmentation is going to be different because people are watching there based on movies or gamers or something else, right? So keep that in mind, right? The segmentation may vary. And then, all right, so you go to the users, and now here we go through the pain points. Now, the thing that I think I've seen that works all the time, works really well, is and here, by the way, you need to pick a user. If there are too many users, you need to pick one that is going to have the highest impact to your goal. Okay, that's the most important thing to remember. Every decision that you make has to be tied to your product goal, and you have to say it, okay, so that it makes sense that you're making that decision. In terms of the pain points, I'd suggest to really do a journey map, and we're gonna do that exercise today. And then once you do the journey, which is the experience of the user throughout your of what they want to do, at each stage of the journey, you're gonna see what are their needs at each stage. Those are the pain points. And it's possible that you have so many pain points that you cannot, you will have to sort of bucket them into just a few and then create a solution for that. So we're going to see what I'm talking about. So these are the pain points. You do a journey, and then for each phase, describe, for each phase, list the pain points. All right. Now we're going to go to solutions. Okay. So for solutions, here, actually, I missed something here. You need to prioritize first. Let's say that you have many pain points. Now you need to do a prioritization. And usually what works for me is level of pain and the frequency of that pain point. So level of pain for the user and how often that pain point occurs. And what you want to achieve here is you want to be very fast and efficient while doing this analysis, okay? Because you want to get to the end in 25 minutes. And I think the meat of this question is really, they want to see your solutions and see if they are actually creative. All right, so let's see. The part at the end is the solutions. So here, you're going to pick one of these pain points. So for one pain point, or for a bucket, I would say, or a bucket of pain points, whatever it is, then you want to come up with at least 3 solutions. Okay. And, whatever is the way that you brainstorm, use that. It could be Scamper or something else. And what you want to do here with these solutions is keep in mind that this is a social network, right? So when you're solving something for Facebook, you want to use their core competencies, right, and the differentiator as a social network. So think about all the properties that they have, the features, the apps, the social graph. How can you leverage that in order to come up with something unique, right, that the competition cannot beat if there's a competitor? Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the solutions, and then you need to prioritize, right? This is sort of like the trade-off part. And usually what I use here is, at the end, I use 3 things, which is impact to the goal, the product goal. And I also use usually complexity. You have to see what the product is, but this seems to work for me. Impact to the goal, complexity, maybe you want to use risk, like risk that the user may not take that, right? And after you finish with this analysis, you select one solution. Now you come up with your product metric, the low-level product metrics. And so here I suggest, if it's possible, to use a funnel, and then a funnel model, and then for each stage of the funnel, you specify a metric. And don't forget, think also of a counter metric. For example, what kind of metric will tell you that you're not going in the right way? And also talk about, if there are some metrics, one can be going up and the other one down, talk about it. Talk about that trade-off of that metric and why you would look at one more than the other. So the Facebook interview is really all about, how do you make decisions when there are different options, and they want to see that, right?
Melina, can you talk a little bit about that, about the metric one going up, one going down? What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah.
If you have an example.
Yeah, so for example, I remember seeing this question, which is, it's just an execution question. For example, average order value, for example, in e-commerce. Okay, average order value versus conversions. And what that means is average order value is how much revenue per order, right, you are selling, And then conversions is how many orders per visit, right? And the trade-off there, for example, that they wanted to see when they were asking these questions, like, what's the trade-off between these two metrics is, well, if I increase the price, average order value will go high, which is good. I'm selling, I'm selling more, and I'm getting more revenue if I increase the price of my products. But what happens? Well, that can also put off your customers, right? And so then the conversions are going to be lower because they're going to perhaps buy less per visit, right? So that's a trade-off. And there could be things like that happening with metrics. So it is good if you look at the metrics and you say, oh, okay, so if this goes up, maybe this one goes down, but because perhaps I'm more concerned about adoption, I will consider this metric much more valuable for my MVP.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
All right. So let's go through this process, and if one of you wants to volunteer to start answering the question, I'm going to pretend I'm the interviewer, and I'm going to try to guide you and steer you. And if you cannot answer a question, it would be great if somebody can jump in and answer the question, or continue answering, not the question, but answering the process. All right, so let's start. So the question is, design a Facebook product for finding roommates. Design a Facebook product for finding roommates. Okay, so keep in mind that we should be doing this like in 20 minutes or 25, okay? So it's gonna be boom, 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 but you have to be extremely logical about why you are saying something and try to be, very succinct. All right, somebody wants to try?
I don't mind. I can try it.
Who wants to try?
I can try it.
Who is talking? Sorry, I cannot see.
Kunal, sorry. Kunal.
Hi, Kunal. Yes. Okay, Kunal, go ahead. So I'm going to ask you, hey, Kunal, welcome to Facebook. So, while we're thinking about something, which is about designing a Facebook product for finding roommates, what do you think?
Yeah, so mission is to make.
Hold on, Kunal, I cannot hear you. You're cutting off. Kunal?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult if you're cutting off.
Sorry. Is it good now?
Yeah, okay.
So Facebook's mission is to make the world more open and connected. So I believe that this initiative could tie into that, but can I ask,
okay,
so are we, sorry.
So Kunal, let me tell you, the mission has changed, right? So it changed, Zuckerberg changed it like in 2017, which is now, it's a little bit different, which is the mission is to enable people to build communities and get the world closer together, okay? So you have to have that down.
Okay.
Because they want to increase meaningful
building communities and so basically building communities.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I will study that mission later on. But so Facebook's mission is to
empower people,
enable people to connect and build community.
Yeah.
And I'd like to ask a couple of clarifying questions here. So are we talking about just a specific geography here, or are we talking about worldwide?
I want you to tell us, because you're the PM, imagine you're the PM, you need to give advice on that.
Okay. All right. And I'm just trying to think of the constraints and the clarifying questions here. So what is the purpose of? I mean, are these long-term roommates or are these like short-term stays?
Short-term states. What do you mean by that?
Sorry, short-term stays, like short-term, like situations where people pair up and become roommates for a short amount of time, or
Oh, I
are
see.
these longer term? I
Well,
would assume they're longer term, but I'm just want to clarify.
I think that the term or how long the roommates are for can vary. So you should account for that.
Okay. And is the goal to primarily be a source of revenue, or is it supposed to be revenue generating, this initiative, or is it open, or?
What do you think? What should be the goal?
Well, it can certainly turn into a paid product. It doesn't have to, but it certainly could be. It could take two flavors. One could be, entirely a free product, and that could, get more people on the platform using the platform, just like Facebook Marketplace. But on the other hand, it could be a revenue generating mechanism as well.
Okay.
Where
So let me stop here and let me take feedback from other people to you. What do people think about first his question about, and sorry, this is, it's terrible, like,
no, it's all good.
We're trying to criticize, but positively. I want positive criticism.
Totally. Yeah, go for it.
So, because this is hard, okay?
Yeah.
So for the first thing that Kunal said, time, what do you think about that question, guys?
Hey guys, Ravi here. I don't think the time matters for the user because it's all about the listing. Some people list for long-term rentals and some people list for short-term rentals.
Okay.
I don't think it matters for the end user, and that I don't think that matters on how we build the product because it's just a case of a couple of filters. And regarding the revenue generators, I don't think Facebook monetizes trying to build the users. It monetizes based on ad servings. So I don't think we should worry about how we serve or how we make money on this because I don't think it fits well with how Facebook in general makes money.
Can I chime in about the ads?
Yeah.
So I think Facebook's ad model for businesses, for example, right? You can promote posts. So if you are a host, then there is a way of making money by just advertising, which kind of connects with their system that they already have built out.
Yeah, I think also that you need to take into consideration that this is an MVP, right? So what if you are the PM and this is a very new product, right? What would be your main concern at the beginning, right?
If people are going to use it or not.
Exactly, right? So before we're talking about revenue and stuff like that, I'll be like more concerned about whether there's a market fit, right?
I actually just want to chime in and provide a little different perspective.
Sure.
So I think that I agree. Like it's probably it's not the right order to ask that revenue question. But I think there is one of the things that I would say is that I think there are some parallels between this and Facebook dating, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that you could probably mention is, so you could ask, what is the biggest goal? Is it to, augment ad revenues, or is it to kind of supplement or find different revenue streams? And one of the things that, and the backing that I would use is that Facebook is very the revenue is very ad focused. So maybe that this is a way to kind of diversify revenues potentially through a subscription or something of that sort. And I think it's a little important because you want to know whether is this something that's going to sit inside, the current Facebook properties, or is it going to be a separate app or website that Facebook wants to build? So I think this question is kind of important in that sense.
So yeah, I agree with that kind of thinking. However, what I would advise against is asking this question to the interviewer. What they actually expect you is for you to come up with your own, how can I say, decision making, okay, and backing up every decision that you make, right? So you can come in Sarania and say, hey, you know what, this is my thought process. This is a new product, fine, but thinking long term as a PM, I think that it's important to think about possible revenue generating streams, and I would like to keep that in mind, right? And maybe you differentiate between short-term and long-term options or goals, right?
Yeah.
But you need to make a statement and take a position. That's what I mean. You need to take a position, whatever it is, but back it up.
Totally agree. Yeah. So it almost seems like it's like almost like think about it like this interview as like a monologue.
Yes.
But then ask them questions and see if you're on the right track. But more like a monologue.
It's more like a monologue, but exactly. And it's all about taking a position. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
in my case, I would start a little bit different. I agree that it should start kind of as a monologue. I would really think and think out loud. Why would Facebook enter this market? What is the market size? Is a specific segment that we should address? For example, we know that Facebook is struggling with younger audiences. This might be a way for us to connect with younger audiences. Are the current solutions in the market not addressing any of these needs? What are the competitors out there? I know that there are a few competitors, roommates.com, a few guys like that. Are we in a better position to offer a more differentiated value proposition? So I would think out loud these things. Why should we go into this and not something else, right?
actually, yeah.
That's a little confusing to me. Is
But
that something
I
you?
ask why, I would just make a statement.
Yeah, exactly.
And say this makes sense, but quickly. Okay, you cannot spend too much time on that. You have to make the decision really quickly, because this is not really the top of the problem. Okay, so don't make it a market entry question, because that will just take too much time. So what I would say is it seems to fit the mission. That makes sense to me. It's also, Facebook has the social graph, which means, it can leverage that to give opinions about roommates. So all that seems to me that makes sense. And it seems to be also a possible big market. You have 2 billion people. They are all, moving around, especially young people. So I think it makes sense. And then move on, okay? Because that's not what the question is, not asking you to make a market entry decision.
Sure, great points, guys. The way I would approach this is to understand the user pain point. Why would anyone use Facebook as a platform to find roommates? I think the current pain point for any user is to find roommates who aligns with their values, their interests, or maybe someone who they live, because it's whom they share their home with. There are trust issues when you're trying to find roommates, maybe, which is why Facebook can help answer these user pain points that they have, or help users make a better decision.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think I would hold on that until get here. All right, until we get into the users. Okay, so let's move on.
Should I give that another try?
No, let's just move on here, because otherwise we're not gonna get to the end. Okay, so let's go into constraints. For the constraints, what I would ask is, is there a timeline for this? If it's in 1 year, that gives you an idea of whether, you need to, use technologies that exist today, or whether the option is to actually look back more into the future. But once you do the constraints, what I would say here is, let's talk about the geo, for example, right? The region. So one of the things that you asked now was where do you want me to do this? So instead of asking that question, what I would do is analyze, hey, this is a new product. How am I going to launch it? Which market am I going to target? And just take a point of view on that. So does somebody want to jump in and say, hey, how would you think about saying, this is where I want to launch this product and why that makes sense.
Yeah. So, if, for example, if we, oh, by the way, another constraint could be, is this going to be a standalone app, or is it going to be integrated with WhatsApp or Instagram or
Right.
Facebook Core app?
So,
That's another constraint.
quick decision. Okay, can you make a statement here?
Yeah. So, so between all of those, I would think that either the Facebook Core app or WhatsApp could be good places to integrate this. I would probably stick with the Facebook Core app because that's where the dating product is also living now. And let's see. Sorry, was that did that answer your question?
Well, you didn't tell us why you think WhatsApp is also a good idea. So you need, when you make a decision, you need to say why, right? So you said only that the Facebook makes sense because you have the dating app. To me, that doesn't have a correlation. But WhatsApp also why,
So I would say there. So yeah, good point. So I would say that with the Facebook Core app, we have much richer data in the Core app as far as connections are concerned, about friends, their preferences, their interests, and whatnot. Versus WhatsApp is primarily a conversational tool, communication device, or a communication tool.
Yeah.
So yes, we can tie those accounts together with Facebook accounts, but it's not. There's not necessarily a one-to-one relationship between the two, between the Facebook Core app and the WhatsApp.
Then why did you mention it?
Social network.
Why did you mention WhatsApp? If you decided against,
I was just thinking.
Why did you mention it?
Oh, I was just thinking aloud. I would probably do that and then talk myself towards one direction, like I did right now.
Yeah, I would suggest actually the opposite. Think about, say, hey, let me think a moment about where does this feature fit better. Okay. And I think that on Facebook, given that it's a social network, that's a good fit. Now, when I think about communication, maybe because roommates communicate, people finding other roommates, a chat application like WhatsApp could be a possibility. However, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Yeah. So, another point is, as far as constraints are concerned, is geo, like we talked about. And the trade-offs here are, if you could launch in a country like India, where there's a lot of growth happening right now with Facebook, versus in the US, where there's a lot of saturation, and the Western world, where there's a lot of saturation already. And I would think that there's trade-offs there. Like
Hello, Kunal? Hello? Hello, Kunal? Okay. Somebody else.
Can I try answering it?
Yes, please, Japra.
Okay. So as far as the geo,
can you hear me?
I would pick.
Give a. I'm going to give you a shot at Japra. Okay.
Okay. So as for the geo question that you asked earlier, I would pick a more Western country, since they're probably more likely to actually have roommates, whereas other countries have different cultural norms of people living, with their families for a long time. So I think that would be the best place to push out an MVP and, gather some user behavior and test out some metrics to figure out which core functions we can prioritize and iterate.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good reason you took a stand on that. Okay. So that is fine, as long as you take a stand on this. And I think Kunal also could make, the point that you were making is that in India, it's less, the competition is less perhaps than here, probably because it's a country that, the GDP is growing and people are able to move out and things. That's another reason. That's okay, right? And you can take a standpoint. So both are good, as long as you guys can take a standpoint. I also thought, like Prajak, in addition to that, I thought, well, you know what, in the United States or in Europe, those are cities with a lot of colleges. and it's young people who look for roommates, usually when they graduate or while they're in college. And so it makes sense to me that I would launch this in a city that is known for a lot of colleges, where people are graduating, and like Boston. It could be New York, or it could be somewhere in Europe, in England. So that
you could also argue the opposite, which is in countries like India, there's a lot of population growth happening. So the demographic skew is younger, so there's more likelihood of people wanting roommates versus an aging population like the US, where so that's another counter.
Yeah. So let's move on. Okay, so now let's go into goals. Okay, let's go into goals. And so here, what I would do is define really well what's the product goal here. One thing that I actually would have asked in the clarifying question is, there are two situations for finding roommates. One with is you are the person looking for a room in somebody else's house that already has a room, or vice versa. That's one situation. Or it could be that I'm looking for people to actually decide to move into a place together.
Right.
And I think I would opt for the first one, which is the most frequent one. I think that people look for others to move together and decide on a place when they know each other.
So you mean like a landlord and renter situation?
What I'm saying is that when you look for roommates, you first, it's either somebody has the place or not, right? Or I have a friend of mine and we both want to look for a place together.
Right.
So I'm opting for the first case, which I think.
Why is that?
I think
why did you opt for the first one?
It's more frequent. Usually, when you decide to, if you decide to find a roommate first, a person first, and then move to a place because you want to decide on a place together, I think that is a less frequent case because, in general, the place, the location is very important. And the fact, if you're looking for somebody to make that decision of finding a place, usually it's your friend or somebody that you know already. Mm-hmm. So that would be one clarification that I would do. But let's move on. I don't want to get stuck here. So let's. So the product goal, so the product goal clearly is to enable people, to enable Facebook users to find room plus roommate, right? And vice versa. So that's the product goal. And then let's define the metric here.
Sorry, Melina, what is the company goal here?
Product goal. Oh, the company goal, well, it's engagement, right? So we can put that here. So what's Facebook goal?
Can you also make an argument for monetization? Because just like the marketplace, you could very well take a cut of this and, it could take two flavors, right?
Yeah, so I would make, you have to justify that. And, we can put your justification here. In general, I think that Facebook doesn't like to monetize something initially. They like to first get a lot of users, and then they monetize it, right? And that's how the company actually did it, right? First, they started in university, started growing.
Yeah.
I think they find a way to monetize, and that seems to be like the way they've done it. But
it's changing slightly now with Marketplace and also with Oculus, though. I know typically they do that, but it's not always the case, right?
Well, with Marketplace, they started with ads, right?
Don't they also take a cut of the transaction?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that if they had done that, people wouldn't have put their stuff. But anyways, you can make that determination also,
Okay.
But in general, I would say that Facebook has a long-term vision, which is engagement, right? And they give up revenue in favor of engagement in general. Keep that in mind. Because
Right.
at the end of the line, what's their cost for whatever they're doing is marginally zero.
Yeah.
Right? They can make money in buckets, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not that they're
Yeah.
selling a real product. Anyways, all right. So let's go to the Facebook goal. Of course, is engagement, get people back into the platform, right? So keep that in mind. And now let's go into the users. Okay, so who are the users?
Sorry, Melina. So the metric would be the number of people who found a
Sorry,
room.
I didn't put the metrics here. You're right. Let's put the metrics here. What would be the high-level metric that you give to your CEO for this? I tell you, hey, how's your product doing?
The number of people who connect and find a room through the platform, through the tool.
Retention.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. Like how many people end up staying together after being paired.
Why would that be a measure of your success?
The retention will tell you, I mean, that's retention, right? So it tells you how good of a quality the pairing was.
I don't think so. There are a lot of reasons why people need to move out. It's not because the pairing wasn't good, but because they found a new job, or they decide to get married, or things like that. I don't think that has any.
Yeah, but you can hypothesize. I mean, fair point. You can hypothesize that people are not going to move to a new place without wanting to stay at least X amount of months or maybe a year, because moving is a pain. So any kind of numbers that show that people are not staying together for at least a minimum amount of X months is a bad sign.
Okay, so I would say number of connections. I would say, meaning by connections between roommates that last at least a year.
Right.
Okay. All right. I think much more important than this is actually the number of conversions, which is how many people that look for roommates actually found roommates.
Agreed.
Number of people found roommates. Number of people that look for roommates.
And actually, there's a offline conversion point here, just like Airbnb. Like the pairing happens online, and then there's they go and meet in person and they connect. So how do you track that? So that becomes, that comes further down in our discussion here, but
yeah,
becomes important.
Hey, Melina, just wanted to give you a time check that we have about,
yeah. We didn't accomplish this. That's too bad. I'll go over a little bit. Okay.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure we keep moving and not get stuck on.
Exactly. Thank you very much. We need to keep moving. Okay, we're too stuck on this. Okay, so now let's go into the users quickly. We need to move fast on this. Users.
College students, young professionals, maybe expats.
Who?
Expats or people who move into the area.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep it like this, okay?
Okay.
Now, why expats? There are too few of this.
Mm-hmm.
No worth it.
People who find a new job or need to move for a job.
Yeah, these are young professionals, right? So the reasons why all of these are segmentations, right?
Yeah.
So college people, I would say my reasons why I wouldn't select college people is because they live in dorms, at least a lot of them, maybe 50%. Okay. And when they go and roommate together, they probably roommate with their friends, they're in their class or whatever, right? So they have already ways to do that. And there are 20 million enrolled people in colleges. I would say you take 50% of that are not living in dorms, and that's only 10 million, right? So to me, that's really small.
Okay.
Whereas young professionals, they're all over the place, right? And those are the people that need actually help in finding good matches because they don't have the relationships that people have in college, right? You see your friend every day in your class. So that's why I would use young professionals. Okay, let's move on into now.
Melina, would you focus on a geo or something like urban areas or something like that?
Yeah, and I didn't mention that, but preliminaries that I would say as a PM is like, look, this is an MVP. Some things that I have in mind is, as I said, I will launch this in a city that has a college. Probably I would like to launch it in Boston or in New York just to try it. Lots of colleges there, and see how it works. Right. So that's what I would say and give my reason for that. Okay, so let's move on into the journey. Okay, so there are two journeys here, right? One for the person that is seeking the room and the roommates, and one for the person that owns, or the people that owns the place and are looking for somebody to come in, right? So let's do one journey, the journey of the person looking for somebody that already has a place, okay? So I'm gonna put this as the room seeker journey.
Room seeker, you said?
Roommates seeker.
Sorry, this is the person who owns the place?
No, it's the roommate seeker. So somebody that's looking for a roommate that doesn't own the place.
Got it. Good.
Okay, so
Can I specify? Can I go?
who is this?
Kunal.
Can somebody go just to give somebody else a chance?
Yeah, sorry. Anyone else wants to go?
No?
I can go if no one wants to go.
Yeah?
Yeah, David here. Okay.
David.
So the journey here. So first thing, it's to find places around the filters that or the constraints that I have.
Yeah.
In terms of.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I want to get more information about the place and the people that live there.
Okay, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I want to schedule an appointment to visit the house.
Find a place. What about the roommates? Do you want to know about the roommates?
Yeah. Know more about them. Yeah.
Okay, find roommates. Learn about roommates. Okay, what else? Meet.
Yep.
And then either
I want to visit the place.
Yeah, that's meet, right? You want to meet them.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure.
And either you accept or reject, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go deeper into this. Find a place. To me, that's the traditional way of finding a place, right? You have certain things that you need, the location, price, and all that, right?
Yeah. Cultural, I'll say like cultural fit.
Traditional
right?
way of finding price, location. What else?
Like cultural fit with the people that live there.
That's here. Culture. Now you have, you have certain requirements, right? Cultural fit. What else?
Maybe age range.
Age, yeah.
Pets.
Gender, demographic. Like.
No. Prayat, yeah, Prak.
Oh, I said pets.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. Pet peeves or pets?
Pets, like animals.
I'm gonna put here pet peeves. There's things that I cannot stand. Okay, what else?
I think also like sexual orientation, maybe potentially.
Okay. So okay,
That's
so
a
what else?
dangerous area to address on a platform like that.
No, that's all right. That's valid. So we'll put all this here. All right, and I will call this basically a match. It's a matching.
Is there interests also in that list?
Interesting what?
Interests, mutual interests.
mutual interests. I will put this as lifestyle. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that's huge.
Lifestyle. So all these things, are related to matching the right person to you, right?
Yeah.
And then you have meet. Maybe here is scheduling the meet, and accept or reject is, how to notify.
Sorry, one more, relationship status that can also factor in.
Relationship status. Okay.
Melina, sorry, I don't want to take up too much time, but what's on the left? Find place. I cannot read that.
Oh, traditional way of finding place, which is price and location, right?
Got it. Thank you.
And especially for somebody that's young, I mean, they spend most of the time outside. They're probably more concerned about just the location and the price, whether they can afford it. Okay, so the journey also, the other journey, which is of the person that has the place, right, and wants to get a roommate, it's, it's going to be how? Journey.
Let's say the place becomes vacant. Let's say they own a new, they move to a new place, or they buy a new house.
Yeah.
Or they lease a place and they want to sublease it.
Let's go into like directly into what they're concerned about. They probably want to, how to let others know, what's the right,
Advertise.
they want to advertise like they need somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. What's the next thing? The next thing is to learn about the other person.
Or maybe you receive applications.
You're talking about solutions, so don't go there. We're talking about needs, right? Learn about the other person. This is the face. And then meet the other person, and then the other ones accept or reject. It's the same, right? Except for these guys, they need to advertise, right? These guys are just finding them, right? So what are the pain points here for advertising? Well, you want to put your best light, right? Best light of yourself. And also your demand, your requirements, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
you want to probably show the place in a nice interactive way.
Yeah.
So you want to make.
Yeah, you're thinking about solutions.
Oh no. Well, sorry. What I mean is that I guess I think I'm going into solutions.
Yeah, that's scary. We're going to go there, but in a minute, because you have a good idea.
Yeah. Sorry.
No problem. Scare is.
I mean, I don't think it's going to solutions. It's an inherent part of the requirements, right? To match. Like, people care a lot about the place and the person they're living with. So I think that's important.
Yeah, but you can do it with a photo, with a video, with a post. Those are implementations, right?
Right. And I don't think Saranya was mentioning photos or videos. She was just saying, or unless I didn't catch that.
No, I think Melina has a good point. Let's just kind of keep going.
All right. So now we're going to go and see, these are two different journeys, right? But I am bucketing here the ones that are, I think, like the hardest. This part, which is traditional, finding the place, there are already tools to do that. That's not, I don't think, the main pain point. But the matching is here as well as here, right? How do you meet the person? There's ways to schedule, right, with the calendar and things like that. So I think that the highest level of pain point is the matching, because you want to know if they're going to be happy, right? And you want to make sure that the person is going to be happy living with the other person. Yeah. So let's go into now solutions, okay? And let's see if you guys can brainstorm real quickly.
So, Melina, just a quick question here. Which one is the most painful of these problems, pain points? And which one is the most high, like the most frequent?
So I think that, these are the phases of the journey, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the phase of the journey that is related to this product is the matching, right? The matching of the people, because that's what we are trying to solve, right? That's finding a roommate. And so to me, that's the biggest pain point that these people will have to, finding a room is easy, but finding somebody that you're going to live with, that's hard. Right.
I'm just a little confused about, the matching, the prioritization, which is on the left there. At what point does that occur? Is that before you detail the journey or after? Because you could say that you're prioritizing young professionals because those are the people who have the most frequent, who feel this pain most frequently and they feel it most deeply. You could prioritize at that point, right?
So when you go through this problem, you have to sort of like narrow down your decision making, right? And there are different levels of prioritization. At this level, we're prioritizing the segmentation, right? So the segmentation we're prioritizing is young professionals. Why? Because there are more of them, and also, it's those are the ones that don't know other people because they leave college, they don't know other people, but they need to find a room with a roommate, right? So they really need this kind of solution that makes the best match. Whereas college students, hey, they're buddies, they know each other, right? The prioritization I'm making here is at this point. Which segment am I going to prioritize? All right.
Okay.
So when
you're prioritizing the problems.
Now here we're prioritizing the pain points, right? So which pain point is the hardest here for the user and that has the highest impact to the goal is the matching, right?
I would say 1 and 2 because you cannot do 2 without 1, right?
So, yeah, but is there anything original here, or anything that has not been done, or anything that Facebook can, in this matching part, there's the social aspect of things, right? Where Facebook can leverage its core capability of the social graph.
Yeah.
Whereas in finding a place, it's just about finding the present location. What's new about that? So this is not a big pain point. You can go to Craigslist and do that. Whereas this is a big pain point for this person. That's the whole point of creating this rooming match. Because the solution is not about finding a place. The solution is about finding a person that matches you, and of course the place, right? But this is the one where Facebook can make a difference.
I have an idea for a solution.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually a real solution, but Facebook's unique in that I can see mutual friends with potential roommates, right? So I can learn more about them if I decide to contact one of our mutual friends. So that's like a non-invasive way of learning more about potential.
How are you envisioning that, Yaprak?
Like Hinge for dating.
How would that look like, Yaprak?
So, for example, if I am, let's say I used all my filters to find potential roommates for myself, then I could maybe see little icons, like little circle icons of friends that we have in common next to their faces. So then I would probably prioritize meeting those people over people I have no mutual connections with. Or maybe I only want to meet people that I don't know or have no way of knowing about me.
Maybe something like this, right? After you find a place, let's say that after you're saying, okay, you have to define where you want to live, first of all, right? So you define some location.
Do you have to do that first, or can you find the people that you match with first and then find a place? Because you can do it either way, right?
You can do it either way, but does that make sense?
Well, the meeting people that you have mutual connections with, I don't think it depends on the place at all.
So imagine this is the city, right?
Yeah.
This is San Francisco. and your friends live here. Some of them, but some of them live here. Wouldn't you prefer to be here if your work is here?
I mean,
Yes.
I think it depends on the person, right? Some people don't mind like commuting a little bit further off to have that trust. So it really depends. So there are a few personas here, I think.
So I think that probably it would make sense by saying, hey, I'm just going to define the region. You can draw it, in a map or whatever, right? And like you said, project, show my friends. Is that what you have in mind?
Oh, no, that's not what I meant. So let's say I'm just looking for roommates, right? So I put in my filters. I'm looking for roommates in San Francisco that have no pets, that are not married, that are between the ages of whatever. So this huge selection of filters that I went through to come up with results that are my best matches. And then to further select the type of people that would be best for me, it would be nice to see if we have any mutual friends in common.
I see. So after you enter your filters, right, you'll have some results, right? Let's say that you have these people, right? That you're envisioning that, right? And then, hey, I want to see who we have friends in common, right? So maybe you see your friends right here.
Exactly.
2 friends. Okay, got it. Okay, that's a great idea. All right, another one. So what do we call this idea? What do we call this?
Degrees of separation in the social network, I guess. How far they are from 1 degree away to 2 degrees away, etc.
Degree of separation. Okay. All right, another idea. We need at least 2 more.
So I was thinking something like a chat bot, where like a chat bot.
What's that?
It's like you go on Messenger and you say, okay, I'm looking for a place in San Francisco, and I want to look for a place in Soma. And then the guy starts asking you questions and kind of like narrowing down more and more the match. At some point, you could tell you, oh, actually, you have like 10 friends living around that area. And just like will be like a quiz, like answer, like questions and answer, until you get to a point where.
Chatbot? Is that what you have in mind?
Sorry?
A chatbot?
Yeah, chatbot.
Okay, that's good. Let's move on. Because we have.
Can I just say, like, there's 2 paradigms here that we can follow, very similar to the dating analogy, like where women make the first move, like in Bumble, or vice versa. So you could have the person who's searching, create a listing or whatnot, versus the person who has a home to advertise could create a listing. So it could go both ways. So A responds to B or B responds to A.
Yeah, right. So and that's there's a listing. Yeah, I mean I see what you're saying, but I don't know if this is too high level to be a solution, right? Because you have to have a way to enter your parameters, like the owner. Let's do the room. The room owner needs to enter parameters, right? And maybe after it enters parameters, there's a room owner list of room owners, and you have a list of room owners shown here, right? And then there is the list of room seekers. And maybe there's another list like that. And I think that's what you're saying, right? All right, but I don't know that this is leveraging the social network at all. Other things, let's see, other ideas? All right, so here's an idea for you. Like a watch, these are like videos of people that own rooms. So the room seeker will come here and they can see your video. that you can create from watch, right? So these also would be videos that are on watch, and basically this will tell sort of like the life, a day in the life of your roommates, of your possible roommates, and and then they can have comments from other people that can tell about if maybe ex-roommates about these people and how cool they are or whatever. So that way you sort of get an experience of what it looks like, what these people look like in real life, what do they do every day, ex-roommates and what they say about them, and sort of leverages watch also, right? You can think of also of stories, for example. So instead of like watch videos, you can have stories, and maybe have a story where it's with music and also with choreography, sort of like saying, okay, these frames, you have to do something, and then you have this music, and so you show how cool you are to your possible roommate. And there could be tons of ideas like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I thought about that idea, kind of like meet the mates,
Yeah.
where you can like leverage all these tools that Facebook has, from stories to watch to live,
yeah,
right? Live in the day of your roommate, basically.
and so think about leveraging all that, right? That Facebook
Yeah.
has. I strongly suggest that when you go into solutions, think about what exists and then try to mix it up. Okay, so we haven't got to the end. It's already too late. But if you are going to prioritize the solutions, remember to prioritize them based on the impact to the goal. Which is making those connections between people, and also the complexity of doing that, and maybe the risk. Maybe it's a risk. Maybe there's a privacy issue. That you need to bring that out.
For example, the watch or Facebook Live, those would be a higher barrier to entry to get people to start filming videos, because
Yeah, right. I mean,
so I would imagine that number one would be, in my opinion,
yeah. Some
would be
other people don't care. But
Right.
yeah, I think the younger you are, the less you care. But anyway, so this is sort of how it goes, and hopefully next time we can finish this. We can finish one. All right, guys.
This was very helpful. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye, Malena.
Thanks, Malena. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.